Okay. Alright. These live multi-platform streaming apps are not great. So, this is terrible. I hope y'all can hear me. I'm going to try not to move too much because this setup that I got going on right now is like a house of cards. This thing could fall over at any moment. But, that being said, without further ado, let's get into it. My fit for this evening is Lard Humongous. If you don't follow him on the social media, you should. I gotta say, the quality of this thing, Lord Lard, I'm sweating. I didn't think I'd be sweating this much. Híjole. Alright, let's get to it. What are we doing? We're reading chapter 3 of Dogs on the Sendero, an independent review by Andres A. Petry. And, alright, right into it. Now, last night, chapter 2 just like abruptly ended. Let's hope that doesn't happen again tonight. So, let's get into it. Oh, I guess I didn't introduce myself for those who don't know. My name is Michael Flores. I am the writer and director of the film Dogs on the Sendero, and I came across this book on Amazon just randomly when I was trying to get the link to our movie. And this popped up. So I decided to read it. Chapter 3. Character development. Ooh. I'm sorry, but before I jump into this, for those who are wondering, I am sitting inside Hannah. So I'm coming to you from Hannah, the RV. I would love to turn the camera and show you the 360 here, but like I said, everything will fall apart if I do. So this is a chapter about character development. The emotional core of Dogs on the Sendero lies in its characters, particularly the protagonist Sol and his canine companion Rosie. She's the real star of this movie, whose development drives the film narrative and thematic resonance. Directed by Michael Flores, who also stars as Sol. The film uses its characters to explore grief, identity, and resilience with a grounded authenticity that reflects its indie roots. While Sol and Rosie form the heart of the story, the supporting characters met. I'm telling you, the amount of typos in this book, I guess that's 2 words put together. Characters met during Sol's cross-country road trip at 3 words together. At cross-country road trip add depth and texture, serving as mirrors to his emotional journey. This chapter analyzes the character development in Dogs on the Sendero, examining Sol's arc, Rosie's role as a co-protagonist, and the contributions of secondary characters, while assessing how effectively their growth supports the film's emotional and thematic goals. Sol, a study in quiet transformation. Sol, portrayed by Michael Flores, is introduced as a man broken by the loss of his wife in a school shooting. His character's arc is the film's backbone, evolving from a state of quiet despair. You know, would help. Boop. Let's do that. Evolving from a state of quiet despair to a fragile but hopeful resilience in the opening scenes. Sol is depicted as withdrawn, his grief palpable in his slumped posture, averted gaze, and minimal dialogue. This guy was watching a different movie. The film wisely avoids expository monologues, instead using subtle visual cues like Soul clutching his wife. This guy really was watching a different movie. Soul clutching his wife's scarf or staring blankly at her photograph to convey his emotional turmoil. These early moments establish Soul as relatable, not a larger-than-life hero, but an ordinary man grappling with an extraordinary loss. You know, sometimes my glasses help and sometimes they don't. Is that weird? Am I the only one? I mean, they're just readers, but... So the beginning of this film doesn't start, like, you know, with the Soul being just a husk of a man. He's we see Gina, like we're introduced to her, and she's a lovely person. So I mean, later on, obviously, you know, he has to deal with such grief, but I mean, not really in the very beginning. Anyhow, let's keep moving. As Saul embarks on his road trip with Rosie, his development unfolds gradually. Mirroring the film's episodic structure, each encounter with a stranger nudges him toward healing. Though the transformation is neither linear or dramatic, for example, when Saul helps an elderly woman with a broken down car, his initial hesitation gives way to a quiet sense of purpose, a shift conveyed through Flores' understated performance, a slight softening in his eyes, a less rigid posture. Man, I'm good. I did all that without even knowing, because the scene didn't happen. These moments accumulate, showing Saul's growing willingness to engage with the world. His reconnection with his mestizo heritage is a crucial part of his arc, as he moves from cultural disconnection to tentative pride. A pivotal scene at the cultural festival didn't happen, where Saul watches a traditional dance, marks a turning point. His hesitant participation, though wordless, signals a reclaiming of identity, with Flores' restrained acting conveying a mix of vulnerability and curiosity. It's really strange, these scenes, like it. I like it, Andres Petry. If you're a real person, reach out to me. Oh, somebody give me. I don't know if you guys saw that. I had a mustache and a hat on. That was nice. Thank you. I don't know if it's like AI that just like came up with these scenes, or if this person just made these things up because they didn't watch the film or didn't have access to it. I don't know, but I'm very curious. So Andres, if you're out there, hit me up, please. I would love to know more about the motivation behind writing this. I mean, maybe you're just a really big fan of independent cinema, and that's super cool too, but all right. Saul's arc is not about erasing grief, but learning to carry it. By the film's climax, when he helps rebuild a community center, Saul's actions reflect a newfound strength, not in overcoming his loss, but in finding meaning through service. The final scene, where he sits with Rosie at a place tied to his wife's memory, shows a man who has grown to accept his grief as part of his identity. Now, it talks about the other, he mentions like the other places that Saul went, supposedly, but he's mentioned this place tied to his wife's memory a couple of times, but he's not specific. Like, what is this place? I would like to know. Is it a temple? Is it a valley? What is this place? Okay. Flores' performance anchors this arc, balancing stoicism with flickers of hope, making Saul's journey feel authentic and deeply human. However, the arc occasionally suffers from the film's episodic pacing, as some encounters feel too brief, too fully fleshed out. Saul's emotions... God. Punctuation here, guy. I think there's supposed to be a comma here. to fully flesh out Saul's emotional shifts, leaving a few moments of growth implied rather than shown. Yeah, well, I mean, maybe that would be true if all of these scenes actually happened. You know what? I'm not going to comment on that anymore. What scenes actually happened and which scenes didn't, because I think it's, now I just think it's funny. So whoever is watching this and they haven't seen the movie yet, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be like, what happened to the community center? Where did that scene go? All right, Rosie. She's the real star. The emotional anchor. Rosie, Saul's dog, is more than a sidekick, so much more. She is a co-protagonist whose presence shapes the film's emotional landscape. Her character development is less about change and more about consistency. She remains a steadfast source of comfort and connection throughout Saul's journey. From the outset, Rosie's expressive eyes and gentle demeanor establish her as a symbol of unconditional love. Scenes of her nuzzling Saul or lying beside him during moments of despair are heart-wrenching, highlighting her role as his emotional lifeline. The film uses Rosie strategically, not as comic relief, but as a quiet force that grounds Saul and facilitates his interactions with others. That's very, very well stated. I saw Rosie's character as it's very much Saul's kind of spirit guide through his journey, and now that she's gone, sorry, I've been thinking about her a lot today. The last thing I want to do is cry on camera, so I'm going to do my best to avoid that. But I see her as still being very much that, an alebrije, if you will. For anybody who doesn't know that, an alebrije, if you've seen the movie Coco, there's, you know, the animals in the afterlife, the colorful animals, those are alebrijes, and I firmly believe that she's going to be waiting for me to lead me on that marigold bridge. Rosie's development lies in how her role evolves in Saul's eyes. Early on, she is Saul's companion, a reminder of his wife and their shared life together. As the journey progresses, Rosie becomes a bridge to others, her presence disarming strangers and fostering connections. In one scene, a young runaway softens when Rosie approaches, allowing Saul to engage in a meaningful conversation that might otherwise have been guarded. The dynamic underscores Rosie's narrative importance. She is not just a pet, but a catalyst for Saul's healing and reconnection with humanity. The film's restraint in avoiding anthropomorphic tropes. Rosie doesn't perform exaggerated heroics, that's very much true, enhances her authenticity, making her a relatable figure for audiences who understand the profound bond between humans and animals. Her consistent presence, beautifully captured through close-up shots and natural behaviors, ensures she remains a vital part of the story's emotional core. Yeah, she's she's not just a gimmick. Rosie has range. She really does. One of my editors has consistently said that anytime he got into trouble, he would just cut to Rosie because she always had something for us, and she did. She really, really did. It wasn't just she's not just a yappy little dog. She's just had so much character in her face, so much expressive-ness. And I think all pet owners kind of feel that way about their pets. A lot of we call them our children, because they truly are. I've got to plug this guy in because it's gonna die. Oh man, the battery don't last long at all anymore. Oops, bear with me. 1, 2, 3, go. All right. All right. Sorry about that interruption. This is just like barely tickling on. Oh, God. All right. This is janky as hell. Whew. Okay, here we go. Supporting characters, mirrors, and catalysts. Now, he hasn't actually mentioned any real supporting characters yet because he's been talking about all these make-believe ones. The supporting characters in Dogs in the Sendero are introduced through Saul's road trip encounters, each serving as a mirror to his grief or a catalyst for his growth. These characters are deliberately fleeting, reflecting the transient nature of a road trip. Yet their development is impactful within the constraints of their screen time. For instance, the elderly woman Saul helps with her car is given a brief but poignant backstory through a single line about her own loss, creating a parallel to Saul's grief that deepens their interaction. Her gratitude, expressed in a simple smile, leaves a lasting impression on Saul, subtly shifting his perspective. I hate to say it, but that does not happen. There is no character, there's no elderly woman that he helps with her broke down vehicle, unfortunately. We did have, when I was originally writing this story, once he gets onto, the road, his journey, his personal odyssey of sorts, I, very much was thinking about Homer's Odyssey and Odysseus and all of the different characters and trials that he met on the road. And there was a lot of different scenes and segues and characters and opportunities. But, ultimately it came down to pacing. I mean, it's already, the film, it's an hour and a half. And it doesn't really need to be any longer than that. And, we found the ones that were important, and we kept those. And the other ones, I guess, are now in this book. Hey! Thank you. People on Facebook can't see, but on TikTok, they're giving me hats and filters and things on my face. Very fun. Another notable character is a young runaway Saul meets at a diner. Well, he does meet a runaway, but she's not at a diner, and she has a name. Her name's Jamie, and she's not just a runaway. She's a character that he meets along his path because she runs the RV park that he stops at. But she's a character that he meets along his path because she runs the RV park that he stops at. But carrying Rosie in that little sling, you no longer have personal space. Everybody forgets about that. COVID, what's that? Come here, let me pet your dog. So, that was very much inspired by that because everywhere I went, we made new friends, all because of Rosie. Another notable character is a young woman he meets at a diner. Their conversation reveals the runaway's own struggles with family and identity, echoing Saul's search for belonging. Though the character appears only briefly, their guarded optimism conveyed through hesitant dialogue and a flicker of hope in their eyes contrasts with Saul's wariness, pushing him to reflect on his own resilience. The film excels in these small human moments, with secondary characters acting as a snapshot of shared human experience. However, some supporting characters, like a hitchhiker Saul briefly encounters, feel underdeveloped. Their stories hinted at, but not fully explored, which can leave the audience wanting more. Yes, I want to know more about this hitchhiker character because I've never even met him. It's another character that's not in the book. Or in the movie. But that would have been interesting. Just picking up a random hitchhiker. I think, well, the thing is, whoever wrote this book also noted that he's traveling in a beat up car, and it's, he's in an RV. So, that's not an easy mistake to make. I would never call this a car. Okay. The community members' soul meets during the climactic scene at the community center are particularly effective. Now that I'm thinking about it, were any of these characters in Nomadland? I don't know. I only saw Nomadland once. But I know that the lead in Nomadland, she does come across... her journey is a bit more episodic, because she does come across a bunch of different characters, and these scenes just kind of happen. I wonder if that's what's happening with whatever AI this person used, if it's just kind of henpecking and like just cherry picking these ideas from other movies and incorporating them into ours. I don't know, but this is a wild adventure that this guy is written for us. These characters are less individualized, but serve a thematic purpose, embodying the idea of community as a source of healing. The film's indie budget occasionally limits the depth of these characters, as their brief appearances rely heavily on the actor's ability to convey backstory through minimal dialogue or expressions, but the performances are generally strong enough to make these moments resonate. I have to say that I was incredibly blessed with the cast that we had in this film. Each one of them really brought their A game. They're all extremely talented people, and they made my job easy. And I couldn't have done it without them. And they really created characters of their own. Like, they made these characters their own for this film. And sadly, this person is kind of missing that, because they didn't actually witness any of these performances. But I will defend them any chance I get, because, excuse me, I think they really did an extraordinary job. And people hear about these regional films or local films, and immediately there's kind of a hi Chloe. There's kind of a distaste there. Like the quality is going to be subpar somehow, and I will defend that staunchly with this film, like as hard as I possibly can, because just because we're this small upstate New York movie does not mean that we lack any kind of character development or plot development. Every penny of this budget is there on the screen, and we didn't skimp on anything anywhere. We did our best to make do with what we had, and if it weren't for the people involved in this crew and this cast, this magical thing that we created would not be able to exist, because it was a lot of experience and craft and instinct that went into this, in developing all of this, and everything was done with purpose and merit and heart and passion. And we made a good film. This is a great movie, and it's really unfortunate that our budget is what's causing us to kind of lack the exposure it deserves, because it does deserve a bigger platform, a bigger stage, if you will. And unfortunately, we can't play with the big studios. We don't have that money. And what a lot of people don't understand is that these studios, their budget for marketing is sometimes larger than their budget that they spent on making the film. That's the world we live in today. You don't have to have a quality product. You have to have a quality marketing team. And that's just what it boils down to. But if you haven't seen this film, I urge you to do so, please. And tell all your friends about it. And I guarantee you won't be disappointed. You won't feel that regret for spending an hour and a half of your life enjoying this movie, and I hope that all of you take something away from it, because that's kind of the point. Strengths and limitations. The character development in Dogs on the Sendero is one of the greatest strengths. Rooted in authenticity and emotional nuance, Soul's arc is compelling because it avoids cliches of the grieving protagonist, focusing instead on incremental growth that feels true to life. Rosie's role as a co-protagonist elevates the film, offering a fresh perspective on the human-animal bond that avoids sentimentality. The supporting characters, while not always fully developed, serve their purpose in advancing Soul's journey and reinforcing the film's theme. However, excuse me, I'm a gassy lassie. The episodic nature of the narrative occasionally hampers the character development. Some secondary characters lack the screen time needed to fully flesh out their stories, which can make Soul's interactions feel like missed opportunities for deeper emotional impact. Additionally, while Soul's arc is well executed overall, a few transitional moments, such as his shift from isolationism to tentative engagement, rely on the implication rather than explicit development, which may leave some viewers wanting more. This is just word jargon. He's saying a lot without saying anything at all. I wish he was more specific, but he can't be because he didn't watch the movie. Just to note, some of the supporting characters, Daquan Leonard Orqueda, who played Benny, and Alice Ritz, who played Jamie, and John Proudstar, who plays John, and Karen Arouge, who plays Amelia. John and Amelia are Soul's parents. Their presence might have been short, but their impact was crucial. And that's why we did get rid of some of those other journeys or characters that he met, because we wanted to focus more on those relationships that he built, and really having an impact not on just Soul, but on the story as a whole. And I mean, just the interaction between Soul and Jamie, that and the fireside chat between Soul and his parents, those are my favorite parts of the film. They just like the message is there, and it strikes a chord really hard in those moments. And some of that message is understated, and some of it is kind of like, in your face. But I think it's a well balanced, and that, like, when we were shooting those scenes, the fireside chat, man, it felt like I felt every moment of that. And it was really, really easy to act in those moments with John and Karen. And I didn't want it to end, honestly. I didn't want my time to end with Jamie either. It's those are, you make quick friends in life, and on film sets especially. But I mean, I've known John for over 20 years now. But on film sets, it's really easy to make very quick friends because you spend so much time together. And sometimes after the film wraps, you realize, oh, we really didn't have that much in common. But I don't feel that way about anybody on this film. I refer to everyone on the crew and the cast as my Sendero family because I truly feel that way. They feel like family to me. And I can't wait to do more with each and every one of you if you're watching. The character development in Dogs on the Sendero is a testament to the film's ability to craft a human, relatable story within its indie constraints. Soul's quiet transformation, Rosie's indie spirit. This chapter evaluates Flores' effectiveness in these roles, analyzing how his acting conveys Soul's emotional journey, how his direction crafts the film's intimate atmosphere, and how the interplay between the two roles enhances or limits the overall impact of Dogs on the Sendero. Thanks. Flores as Soul. a performance of restraint and depth. So deep. As Sol, Michael Flores delivers a performance that is understated yet profoundly effective, capturing the nuances of a man navigating grief, identity, and tentative hope. From the film's opening scenes, Flores portrays Sol as a figure weighted down by loss, using minimal dialogue and subtle physicality to convey his emotional state. His slumped shoulders over... Why, this is just repeating itself now. I'm wondering if this is actually just kind of like saying the same thing all over again. Oh, you know what? He actually started a whole new chapter without letting us know. Because it goes from chapter 3 to 5. So this is like the beginning of a whole new chapter. Look, it goes from the next chapter is chapter 5. So did you not proofread this at all? I mean, even if AI wrote this for you, the least you could have done is proofread it. Oh, Lord. I don't even know if I should bother keep going, because it just kind of feels like it's just repeating itself. I'll keep going for now, but this will be a 2-chapter night, I guess. Where were we? His averted gaze, slow, deliberate movements in early scenes, such as when he lingers over his wife's belongings, speak volumes about Sol's inner turmoil. This restraint is a strength, as it avoids melodramatic cliches often seen in portrayals of grief, making Sol feel like a real person rather than a cinematic archetype. It's funny that he's mentioning all these things about holding a gaze and looking over his wife's belongings and stuff like that, because, you know, we did want to use like our set design and, you know, our props that we did have to kind of show that she was still there and Sol hadn't moved on, but, you know, we weren't really trying to bring too much attention or focus to that. So, for example, when he wakes up in bed, when, you know, the morning after school ends, and he wakes up in bed and Rosie wakes him up, if you look carefully, all the things in that scene are all things that belonged to Gina. Like everything, the stuff on the nightstand, her makeup is still there, all of her, you know, her hair products and everything else are on the little vanity, and there's actually color swatches, like they were looking at paint samples, and they're still like on the windowsill and the wall. Like we left that there as if time stopped when she died. They had these plans to do all these things. They were going to paint that room, and then she died, and he just left things exactly as they were. So that, you know, that happens. But it's, you know, it's more inferred than like thrown into your face. So it's, you know, it's like what happens off scene, I guess, off camera. Flores' ability to convey Sol's gradual transformation is the cornerstone of his performance. As Sol embarks on a road trip, Flores introduces subtle shifts in his demeanor. For instance, in a scene where Sol helps an elderly woman with a broken down car, his initial hesitation, marked by his tense jaw and cautious glances, gives way to a faint smile. So oh wait, faint smile. That was a big smile. And relaxed posture as she thanks him. This evolution is never overstated. Flores ensures Sol's growth feels organic, reflecting the incremental nature of healing. His interactions with Rosie the dog are particularly poignant. Scenes of Sol speaking softly to her or stroking her fur are imbued with tenderness, with Flores' expressive eyes conveying a mix of sorrow and comfort that deepens the audience's connection to Sol. Now that's so. One of the other reasons that we had, Rosie as his, companion through all of this is so that Soul could have somebody to speak to. Like he didn't necessarily always have to have an inner monologue or an inner dialogue. Rather, he could say what he's thinking because he's talking to his pet. And I speaking for myself, I can't speak for every pet owner, but I talk to my pets all the time. And we have Rosie's little brother Sonny. I talk to him. I still talk to Rosie, and I have full-on conversations with Rosie. I always did, because she just always seemed to understand what I was saying. She was a very empathic animal, and I wanted to use that in the film. He's speaking his mind because he's not alone. Somebody's there. Somebody's there to hear what he's saying. And they do that, like, if you notice, Disney movies do that. Like, that's why these characters have animal sidekicks. So they have somebody to say those inner thoughts to. So it's not just a soliloquy or an aside that they're speaking to an audience. It's the same thing with video games. There's a lot of, modern role-playing video games where the character always has some kind of sidekick that he speaks his mind to. So it's not just dead silence. Because obviously you can't read a video game's character's thoughts and emotions because, you're looking at them from behind. Anyhow, a key aspect of Soul's arc is his reconnection with his mestizo heritage. And Flores handles this with authenticity and sensitivity. In a scene at a cultural festival where Soul watches a traditional dance, Flores' performance captures a complex blend of longing, hesitation, and curiosity. His subtle shift from overseer to tentative participation by a slight nod and a step forward conveys Soul's cautious embrace of his identity without resorting to heavy-handed exposition. This cultural dimension adds depth to Soul's character, and Flores' lived experience as a filmmaker of color likely informs the authenticity of these moments, making them resonate with audiences who share similar journeys of cultural recognition. Now I kind of wish I did write a scene like this, because this sounds great. However, Flores' performance is not without minor flaws. What? Oh! Here comes the tea. In some scenes, particularly during brief encounters with secondary characters, his reactions can feel slightly underwritten, as if the script's episodic nature limits his ability to fully explore Soul's emotional response. For example, a fleeting interaction with a hitchhiker lacks the depth seen in other scenes, with Flores' expression remaining somewhat static. These moments are rare, and his overall performance remains compelling, but they suggest the challenges of balancing acting with the demands of directing. While I don't argue with that, because, playing two roles in front and behind the camera is extremely difficult, and I envy anyone who does it well and respect them sincerely. That scene doesn't happen. So, I don't know. I guess you be the judge. Go watch the film, and you tell me. Maybe you'll come back and say, yeah, you were crap, Flores. Try again. Or don't try at all. Give it up. Kaputski. Flores as director, crafting an intimate vision. As the director, Michael Flores shapes Dogs on the Sendero into a film that feels deeply personal, leveraging its central New York setting and indie constraints to create an intimate, grounded aesthetic. His directional vision is evident in the film's tone, which balances raw emotion and quiet hope, avoiding the sentimentality that could easily overtake a story about grief. Flores achieves this through deliberate pacing, allowing scenes to breathe, such as long shots of Soul and Rosie driving through rural landscapes. Rural? That's always a difficult word to say. Rural landscapes, or lingering close-ups of Soul's face during moments of reflection. These choices give the audience space to feel Sol's emotions alongside him, a hallmark of effective indie storytelling. Why, thank you. Flores' use of central New York as a backdrop is a standout directional decision. Locations like Utica and Frankfurt are not just settings, but characters in their own right. Their small-town charm and rugged beauty reflecting Sol's internal journey. Flores's films these landscapes with a naturalistic eye, using soft lighting and muted colors to evoke a sense of melancholy and possibility. Well, I can't take all the credit for that. It was John McGinty, you know. A scene where Sol and Rosie camp under a starlit sky is particularly striking. I'd like to see that scene too. With Flores framing the vastness of the night against their solitary figures, emphasizing both isolation and the potential for connection. This visual storytelling enhances the film's themes of grief and healing, showcasing Flores' ability to communicate emotion through imagery. The director's handling of Rosie as a co-protagonist is another strength. Flores ensures that Rosie is filmed with care, using close-ups of her expressive eyes and natural behaviors to highlight her role as Sol's emotional anchor. Rather than relying on anthropomorphic tropes, Flores lets Rosie's presence speak for itself, as it does. A choice that feels authentic and resonates with audiences familiar with the human-animal bond. His direction of the supporting cast is equally effective, coaxing naturalistic performances from local actors who bring authenticity to their brief roles, such as the elderly woman and the young runaway Sol meets. These performances... This chapter just abruptly ends too. It just ends at these performances feel. And then it stops. What a disappointment. I was really hoping that we were going to get into some juicy stuff here. And so far it's just been really repetitive and kind of nonsensical. I mean, it's nice. There's a lot of really kind words, and I appreciate that. But I was really hoping for like a deep analysis and a critique. You know, even if it's not all kind words, I still want to hear what people have to say. It's really funny though how they say that, you know, some of Sol's or my performance was muted in some of those scenes, or not as lively when the first audience that we showed this film to, one of the critiques was that I wish that Sol was quiet a little bit more. So I guess you can't please everyone. Everyone's a critic, right? Even AI, apparently. Not just people, robots are critics too. Well, this has been fun. Thank you for joining me. Again, go check out Lard Humongous. He's got some really cool merch that he sells. A lot of really fun stuff. I love you, Lord Lard. And please check out the film. It's on Amazon, Apple TV+. It's on Fandango at Home, and YouTube and Google Play. And yeah, and you know, you'll be supporting small indie artists that are really trying to make a difference and an impact in the film industry as a whole and in the indie market in general. But this has been fun. We'll do it again. Hopefully it gets better. I don't know. Maybe I'll preview this. I'll read a little further before jumping into it. Maybe I'll just find like whatever the good chapters are and then go from there. Because, I don't know. We're on page 50. That means there's 100 pages to go still. And if they're just going to repeat the same thing over and over again, I don't just want to sit here and say, oh, look how great I am. Alright, thank you for joining. This has been fun. I love you. Have a good night. How do I stop you?